Howdy there, folks, it's Hunter, and in today's video we're going to be talking about why Bungie freaking hates bows. A lot of this has to do with the recent TWAB and then just a lot of other things in general, and I'm just going to kind of vent them for a little bit. If I sound kind of funny, I apologize. I had a recent jaw injury, so I'm kind of just powering through that. I wanted to give you guys something this weekend, so I just kind of going to make a short discussion video about this. So in the recent TWAB, Bungie, we had a whole bunch of buffs and nerfs and different things that happened. But specifically for bows, not a lot really happened. We're getting a 20% damage buff for red bar damage for bows, which, woohoo. But that's it. Pretty much every other primary type got a whole bunch of different buffs across the board. I guess the silver lining is we can at least one-shot red bars. Woohoo! Even though it's stupid, because we are the hardest hitting primary to begin with, and it was dumb that we haven't been able to one-shot red bars in higher end content. It's just silly. But anyways, the only other thing that happened were two nerfs. Trinity Ghoul is having its AoE damage nerfed alongside a few other weapons. And then Archer's Gambit is getting nerfed from a 66% draw speed buff to a 60%. Now that one's kind of just a slap on the wrist. It's not so bad. But, there weren't very many bow changes that happened. And out of those three small things that happened, two of them were nerfs. And that kind of is just, it's sort of indicative of Bungie's attitude towards bows. It feels like we've only really gotten nerfs and maybe a couple buffs here and there. The only other buffs I can think of, and really I struggle to call one of them a buff, but the only other two instances of a buff that I can think of are that Wishender got a sort of small rework a long time back. Where it got anti-barrier and then does a little bit more damage in PvE, which is great, don't get me wrong. That's been one of the most exciting things, actually probably the most exciting thing that's ever happened for bows as far as patches go. But then the only other thing that happened would be lightweight bows getting a buff. And you can't see me doing this right now, but I'm doing air quotes. And air quotes on that because it wasn't really a buff. It was really just bringing them up to parity. I mean, yes, it was a buff. I'm being negative here. But it was making them usable. It was making them feel better as opposed to all the other primaries in the game that didn't have the issue that they were having, which is just weird hit registration due to their non-hit scan nature. Now, that being said, right after that happened, right after lightweight bows got that buff or that, bringing them up to parity thing, bow usage went up a little bit because everybody's like, oh, well, now bows are great. Well, not really. They just got like a slight kind of buff, and it just brought them in line so that they actually felt more usable. And yet lightweight bows were not what anybody was using. It was just like, hey, bows got changed. This is technically a buff. So people started using bows. And when people started using bows, they realized, hey, precisions are better. And then they started using precisions and they realized, hey, bow swapping is a thing. And then we started seeing all the bow swapping get rekindled, and now bows have been nerfed into the absolute dirt. And that's kind of the point there. They've been absolutely nerfed into the dirt. They got a 30% damage nerf, and now, as far as I can tell, that's not changing. They're not giving us anything, because if you look here at the bottom of the TWAB, it says that they're basically satisfied with the damage numbers in PvP. And they didn't really talk about any sort of changes in PvP. And like they said, they're satisfied, I guess. Which is hilarious to me because you've got a primary archetype that has a lower usage rate than almost every other weapon in the game, including almost all of the specials and even some heavies, which is ridiculous that a primary has a lower usage rate than heavies, which we don't hardly get ammo for in the first place. And furthermore, we're talking about a primary weapon that has a TTK that typically floats somewhere between about a 0.9 to like a 1.6, depending on which bow you're using. That isn't even remotely competitive. Almost every other primary in the game has a body-shotting TTK that is better than that. In fact, I'm pretty sure they do. 1.6 is pretty dadgum slow. So I don't know. I've been kind of frustrated because I was looking forward to this. I wasn't quite expecting to see the weapon patch notes so soon, but, well, Final Shape is right around the corner. And it is pretty frustrating to see that bows are getting absolutely no love. I guess we're just going to be left to continue languishing as we have been for these past couple months. And I know there's a lot of haters out there that don't like bows. I mean, I've gotten some very fun, aggressive hate mail myself, and I've just been using Tikus, which If you're getting tilted by somebody killing you with Tikus, that's a you issue. If you feel like I'm flexing, get over it. I'm just having fun, you know? And that's how a lot of other bow mains feel. I know that's how a lot of y'all feel. I guess I'm just kind of frustrated, and I wanted to vent a little bit about it. See what you guys think about it. See what your thoughts are on the video. As I stated earlier, my jaw is hurting just a little bit, so I want to go ahead and cut this one short and not go on too long with it. But please, let me know what you guys think. A lot of times I feel like I'm just kind of barking into the wind here. Do not be shy. Feel free to comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. I always want to hear from you guys, and it's always fun to interact. Thanks for listening to me rant, y'all, and I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend.